So I do a quick demo with all of them so everybody knows what they're watching and looking for tomorrow morning when you're going through your data. So you should be able to see me in there. I'm the orange, red, and yellow guy. So if you were a bridal party, that means I'm the hottest thing inside the picture, but you're not a bridal party. The wife hates that line, by the way. She keeps telling me to get rid of it. But at the same time, we're literally looking for cold spots with the blue and black areas inside the frame. Those are the colder areas, black obviously being the coldest. Now, there is a blue dot bouncing around this frame telling us where the coldest spot is in the frame at that particular moment. It's kind of helping us direct our eye of where to look inside the frame when we're watching this video. You will get this full video back. That's the cool thing. We are going to do a few starts and stops with this guy because as great as the hardware is, the software sucks. So if we record for too long, we actually lose quite a bit of footage. So Eddie, I think I'm going to go with you on this one, man. He's like, hell yeah, I'm down. So you're going to hold that horizontal all night, just so you kind of know your hand just went over the camera, your left hand. Your left hand?
Other left.
There you go. Your other left. So you're going to keep it horizontal. Even when I give you the stops and I tell you to restart it back up again, make sure it's in that same horizontal position with the wire on your left. Okay. So that way the video is not upside down. That kind of thing. So,
be there in 2 minutes.
Let's get both cameras out, shall we? Let's get these guys up and running so we know what we're working on. This one looks a little bit more Ghostbustery, yes? So, a little bit crazier. So, quick demo, you should not be able to see me in this camera. It should be pretty dark in that little tiny black screen. Yes, it's a GoPro, just so everybody knows what it is, but it's an altered GoPro. Let's turn on some lights. I should be in a purple or pinkish hue at this point. So we're working with IR lighting, full spectrum lighting. This is light you cannot see with your own eyes. The hope here is that we can capture something we wouldn't normally be able to see with our own eyes. So obviously we have a long range light and a short range. I'm going to show the user a little bit more about this at our first stop. But we are going to be using an additional device that goes along with this to kind of enhance the entire experience. So Jeremy, this one's going to go to you, my friend.
All right.
We're not recording yet, so no worries on that one. Now that both cameras are out, there's only 2 cameras that we use specifically. I want to kind of give both of you a fair warning. People do not like their cars to be filmed, and they don't like to be filmed themselves. So if I say we're going to act a little bit more casual, yours is easy. You can just act like you're holding a cell phone. As far as yours goes, point it straight at the ground. So we might be in some spaces where there's some cars parked, people walking by. I'll say be super casual with that, and you can just film, you know, nice and easy. So this one is a neuralizer from Men in Black. None of you are going to remember anything by the time we're done. So this guy is actually laser. So lasers, why do we use these? Because you can see that obviously the stars on the ground and the pen in my hand, but you can't see the lasers until something passes through. So the hope here is that we're going to be able to capture something passing through it at a quick motion. We're going to be using that with the IR camera that I just handed over to Jeremy. So this guy gives us red squares. Why do I want red squares and green stars? Is because if we capture something here, I can then put it in 3D software and give you a full 3D view of what we caught along with measurements. I've had this one for almost a year, and the software has come close twice to being able to give me something a little bit more solid than what I actually thought I caught. So do I have some anomalies? Yes, but do I have any specific concrete evidence from the 3D software? Not yet. Hopefully tonight is our night. Julie, I only give these to adults, just so you know. So this one is a little right where my index finger is. Okay. So that one you have to hold on. This one, however, you have to toggle it on. So once it's on, you got to be careful with it because laser lights will get Nick in a lot of trouble. Which, by the way, that's my name, everybody. You can call me Hey You, but Nick will suffice. So we'll talk more about those lasers as we kind of go throughout the night. But the whole point that I'm trying to make here is I need you to keep them on the ground no more than 2 to 4 feet in front of you. Let's get into spirit boxes. I use several different styles, especially in a group like this, you know, when we're all spread out like this, because spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead. So, on your TV shows, YouTube videos, if you're not familiar with that, that's usually the white noise that they give you in the middle of the TV show, and then the host will tell you what he thinks he heard in the middle of it. So, they usually listen to straight white noise and give you disembodied voices. I will tell you that those are a rarity. I only capture about 4 to 6 of those per year. There's another method you can use with these radio sweepers, and that is to slow them down so that it allows the radio chatter to come through. So the song lyrics, the DJs, the commercials. That's what we're going to be listening for on top of disembodied voices. So if we hear a song lyric and we can understand what it says, it's a 50-50 shot that I can tie it to the location of where we are, a person in history that we're talking about, or even something going on with one of you guys. It happens all the time. Now the two of these that I have that are identical that I'm going to be handing out, these two users are going to have an earbud in. So they're going to be the only person to hear it in real time. So this one in specific is going to record the entire session, the other one will not. The reason being is because I want to go through and spot check that recording for you guys tomorrow morning. I'm going to be writing down wherever these users find in real time, but I'm going to give you 15 to 20 other markers of things that I hear, and if they're relevant, obviously I'm going to give you the reason why, and then the backlink to be able to prove it. So again, this device is one of my favorite devices. I got names right. So you're going to have an earbud in. So most people only use one, just so you know. And all you have to worry about is the volume button. It's right here, where it's a wheel, so it's not the button. So you just have to undo the twist tie for your earbud.
If she hears music, it's from the past, or is it like something in the airwaves current?
It's live.
It's live stuff that somebody's playing.
Correct.
The radio station around here is playing.
Correct.
And then usually when you hear radio, you hear a voice or something else with it.
So not only that, but for example, if she has a commercial that comes on and it gives us the number, we'll just talk about Big John for a second. One of his jersey numbers was 52. So if she obviously gets the name John that comes on in a commercial somewhere, and then later on here's the number 52, we're going to be able to tie that together to say it's a great possibility that we had something going on with Big John because his jersey number was 52. It's all about putting the clues together. You're going to get the next one. I think I forgot about the two we got here. Teenagers do really well with these. And I don't want to hear what artist you heard. I want to know what the lyrics are. Because everybody tells me, I just heard Harry Styles. So, I hear it all the time. So, I'm going to set yours up. Yours will not record. So, whatever you hear in real time is basically, I'm going to have to be writing it down. I can phone over on you so that way I can hear it. So, again, we're going to have to trust you on this one. So, you all about this one? Yeah, I think I got this. So let me set it up to start sweeping. Again, you'll have to undo the little twist tie on your earbud. And then your volume is also a wheel at the top. It's much easier to find than the other one I just handed out. So again, your comfort level as far as volume goes. Let's see, what do I want to get into next? This is the brand new device. See, I told you I had something good for you guys. So, this is also a spirit box. Why is this one so different and why am I excited about it? This one is going to sweep through FM and AM at the same time and try to take out the white noise in between all of the words. So far, this has been about, I'll say, about 75% accurate as far as what comes out of it. What does that mean for you? That means that, if I could see in the dark, start over. So we're going to hear probably about 4 to 6 terms out of this thing total. 2 out of those 6, 4 out of those 6 are going to be meaningful to the location of where we are. So if you hear more than that, I'll be super impressed, but that's been about the average. Again, I've had it for about a month. So anywhere between, I guess, 4 to 6, maybe 7 terms that are going to pop out of it that are going to be clear as day. That's basically what we're listening for on this guy. Right now I have it on mute, just so I can kind of get through the rest of this intro, but your mute button is right here on the right-hand side. There's only one button there. So we're good to go with that. I got to break out all the spirit boxes tonight. All right, the next spirit box we don't have to listen to at all. So this is actually going to give us words from time to time in the center of the screen. So basically this is kind of like an ovulus, the thing you guys see on TV that spits out the words with the 2 little antennas on it. This has over 9,000 terms in it. That's over 4 times the amount that an ovulus actually has. This is a phone app. It's meant to be a game and a hoax. 80% of what comes out of here, we can just call it what it is. It's BS. It doesn't mean anything. It's the other 20%, 5 to 20% roughly, of the terms that are going to come out of this list are going to be meaningful to the location, a person, something going on with one of us. Again, most of this is going to be throwaway. Last night they had 70 terms that showed up. I think 2 terms out of that last night was actually good. But on average, I get about 8 to 12, just so you guys know. But again, I'm going to clear out last night's list so that we can actually start off fresh. David? Yep. Dave? Yep. You're going to go with this guy. Yep. I don't want to see every word that pops up. I will come to you when I want to see the word list. So that way we're not out here till 4 a.m. Because that's usually what happens. last spirit box, I promise. I told you, I have a lot of these things. They all do something a little bit different. So this one is open air. So the way this one is working, you're going to obviously control the volume when you're listening in on this guy. So this way, you know, they're not in sync. So you're going to hear things and she's going to hear things. So that's kind of how this guy is actually going to work. You control the volume by the side of the ball speaker, and again, it's open air. At times, I'll say, let's go ahead and turn that down. It's a roll down, and you kind of hold it there until it goes down. Just because certain spaces we might actually be in a neighborhood or interrupt horses or, you know, those kind of things. Last but not least, so you guys have probably seen these on TV. These are K2 meters. So these are pretty much a necessity. So Nathan, was it? Cool. So this one's going to help me debunk things that are going on. You guys have the biggest party out here, so I'm giving you guys the simpler of the two. Now this guy, if it goes off, this is going to measure anything that's coming off of electrical anything. So electromagnetic field. So cell phones, wiring, buildings. This kind of helps me figure out if what we have going on is actually paranormal or not. So I already have the colors memorized, and I'll be keeping an eye on that guy all night long, which makes you my multifunction.
Oh,
so you're the one that told me, like, you had no clue what the hell you're getting into. I'm putting him full on work.
All right.
So this guy also has an EMF meter built into it. So the top number, anything above 2.5 is his second green dot. So I want to know what's going on above 2.5. The bottom, this is another reason why I gave this to you. The bottom number is ambient temperature. Eddie finds something on his camera, we can debunk it or prove it pretty quickly with the ambient probe up here at the top. The last thing that it has is it has what we call a REM pod. It's a motion sensor. If something gets close to the antenna that I just pulled out, it's going to go off. The closer it gets to you, the higher the pitch it's going to go. Obviously, there's an array of colors in there, but we're going to talk more about those as we kind of get moving along here. For now,
if he sees a cold spot, I got to run into it with that?
Pretty much.
All right.
That's how it's going to roll.
All right.
That's how that's going to go. All right. Everybody's all geared up now, yes? Just got something? Cool. All right. My bag should be way lighter now. All right, so just to kind of recap of all of the things you're going to get back in your data tomorrow. You're going to get the regular audio recording. You're going to get Katie's recording from her spirit box. You're going to have the full word list. You're going to have a full thermal imaging video. You're going to have a full spectrum video. And then, of course, the digital spirit box word list. And then anything of the other notes that I write down. Again, this is a lot to go through, and you'll see how I piece it all together when you get your data back tomorrow morning. So, let's talk about why we started here. You guys got me talking. Let's hit the water first. Yes, it's water, not vodka. So, Big John's. That's why we started here. Of course, the place is haunted. That's why we're here. So, this used to be owned by a football player. His name was Big John Kennedy. So, he played for the 1947 New York Giants. This was his bar, and he used to sit in the back of the bar and tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. And one night, two guys weren't old enough to drink. So he had the bartender throw them out. They leave pretty mad. They come back the next night, and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. Big John sees what's going on. He puts down his beer, goes over, and just starts beating the hell out of these guys, pounding them right into the floor. A couple of gunshots go off. John gets grazed in the neck, but the bullet lands in the wall behind him. John gets up after being shot. He's the only one that's shot, by the way. Goes back to the bar and tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the two guys on the floor, and ambulance. So, irony of the story is, nobody died in that story, right? We're talking about ghosts. So what's haunting this place? The bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. Even after the renovation of the Big John's we're now looking at, if they filled in that bullet hole, Big John's blood is still in this building. People that sit in the front of this building tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or heady. This is your heated morning. Again, fingers crossed, we're going to be dealing with paranormal activity. If anybody feels any of those symptoms that I just mentioned, I need to know immediately so we can move the whole group and get that person to safety. I think it's a big deal. Hasn't happened in a while, but people have passed out on my tours in the past on nice cool nights like this. And we will talk about one of those instances at the very end of our night. So, just because we have I'm going to guess mom, right? I'm going to guess we have a mom on the tour, so let's not talk about our own health and worry about what the hell we just signed up for. So, big earthquake here in 1886. If you didn't already know that from any other historical tour in Charleston, now you do. It's a big anomaly for us because this is the East Coast. We're not supposed to have earthquakes. This building, Big John's, is where allegedly the first death occurred from that earthquake. So, the white mantle you see in the middle of the building also wraps around the front of the building. A piece of it broke off during that earthquake, struck somebody in the back of the head, and killed them. And they say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night. Now notice I said they say and apparently and allegedly. I don't have any proof of that story. It's just a great segue, so moms aren't thinking about getting sick on the tour. So, are we all ready to go ghost hunting and ask more questions?
Yep.
All right. Dave, I thought I lost you there for a minute, man.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Kind of like phased off on me for a minute. All right, we're actually going to go this way. About 15, okay? Yeah, that's about 15 milligauss. Did you have any numbers show up on yours since we've been in here?
No.
Okay.
What? I just jumped.
Right here.
What do you got?
I jumped to 0.9.
Oh, it was right here.
So 2.5 and higher on yours.
Oh.
Okay. That's good. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We're not going to get excited as it keeps repeating to do what it's doing. We can just all take note that we actually have something going on. But again, that particular device loves to either go off at the very beginning as soon as we enter in, or it waits until we leave. Like, oh wait, we have more to say. So again, that device is very unpredictable in here. How high is it going?
To the second red one.
Second red, so you're up to 20. All right, so let's talk about why we're here. This is why he's here, remember that. So we wanted to see his excitement. Your entire time with me should be kind of thought of as a ghost hunting 101 course. So my apologies if you already know a lot of these very basic terms, but as we kind of level up throughout the night, this is a very easy spot. So let's talk about those devices, but why are we here first? This is the big red barn where we keep the horses for your carriage rides. So in the summertime, it's not very pleasantly smelling over here, just so you guys know. You lucked out again. Now, this is the, by the way, a couple of rules while we're here. We're not going to be here for very long, but absolutely no lasers on that building. Where are my lasers again? So no lasers on the building, and no pressure, but those lasers will set off car alarms as well. So no pressure. The history of this building is a one-liner, and I made it that way on purpose. This is the same big red barn that held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. Whenever I'm telling you the history of a building, I will always slow down on keywords because, yes, there are 6 different types of spirit boxes in play tonight. Over here, I just slowed down on delivery, milk, and eggs. So let's talk about those spirit boxes. This is not TV or a Ouija board. This is not, is somebody here? Because that's what everybody wants to ask. If somebody says no, that means somebody's here, just so you guys know. We are not going to be asking yes or no questions all night long. That is not where paranormal evidence comes from, like what they show you guys on TV. So we're going to be asking specific questions. In this location, I would make it simple for you and say, if somebody's here, what color is the big red barn, right? So obviously we're looking, and I say looking because we do have a digital spirit box word list. I keep losing where things are at. Dave has that. So he would be looking for the color red. The other spirit boxes would be listening for the color red. However, we're using song lyrics and DJs to convey messages back to us, kind of like Bumblebee from Transformers, right? So the word red might not be in that person's vocabulary at the moment. So if we don't get the color red, we might hear other terms like fire truck, blood, heart. Those 3 things are specifically red. That would make sense to me as an acceptable answer. What color is the big red barn? Blood. Like, I'm good with that. However, most of the night I am going to require 2 instances, whether it's 2 spirit boxes or other devices, to kind of mesh up to see what's actually happening. I already gave you the Big John reference, but the reference I normally give is if Dave has the word art on his spirit box word list, and where's another spirit box? Elizabeth, here's the number 40. So neither one of those things mean anything by themselves. But again, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. I would kind of like, okay, we have something going on here with Mr. Faircloth, you know, and see if there was anything else going along with that. So the 2 things like matching up like that actually verified. Most of the time that might be all we get. However, there might be other things that keep going around that specific story or around that specific person. We just never know for certain. So again, most of the night I'm like, that's a great clue. Let's see what else comes up around it. Because I don't like to give you all of the information up front on purpose, so that way you have a genuine experience and you're not subject to subliminal messaging. So that's how we're going to be using your spirit boxes throughout the entire night. Let's talk about those 2 video cameras. Eddie, let's start with yours. You're going to try to do 2 things, and you are recording, by the way, just so you know. That red square means you're recording. When I tell you to tap it, it'll turn to a circle. You're going to try to keep a person in view, and it's usually a person from our group. We all kind of signed up for this, so we're okay with being on film because it's only going to us anyway. So the reason I say that is because we're going to be the warmest things out here. When you put it on a person, that kind of gives you a nice array of color, and it makes it a lot easier to find those cold spots moving instead of just a blank wall somewhere. The other thing you're going to try to do is keep the sky out of view. The reason for that is because the blue circle bouncing around the screen is going to default to the sky every time because there's no surface there. So some of those places we're going to be going to, that's going to be impossible, so just do your best. Where's my, there we are, Jeremy and Julie, my 2 stars of the show. So now with your particular camera, I want you to point your camera at me first. So I should be in a purple pinkish circle.
Yep.
I'm not looking inside the purple circle when I review your video. I'm looking for things in the darker spots of your video. So I'm looking for things probably over here because your other light is coming over this way. I'm looking for things that normally would not be able to reflect light, if that makes sense, because we're working with light that we can't see. So the other thing that I'm going to tell you to do is like if somebody gets too close or we're huddled up into a circle, do you notice how my hand kind of leashed everything out?
Yeah.
So you can turn off the short range and long range is still working for you. So we're going to leave long range on all night long, but there's a red button right there at the top, and it's Velcroed on there, so you can't. Okay. So you can just click that on and off, whatever discretion you might have. We're not recording with yours yet, but we're going to do a quick demo with the lasers. Point one of your lasers down for me. So much tighter than that. You're going to cause way too much attention. Perfect. So you want to keep them in control, no more than 4 feet in front of you. And we already know what the stars look like, Jeremy. So you're going to actually take it 2 feet backwards, because what I'm looking for is something in here, right? I already know what these look like on the ground. I'm looking for motion to come through this way. So again, you want to kind of get the spread of the laser grid of what's going through it. So again, you can use them in tandem, just kind of side by side kind of thing, because you don't want to cross the streams, otherwise you just created one big grid and that's pointless. So, and nobody got my cross the streams joke. It's Ghostbusters, guys, come on. Just stay on top. So again, certain spaces are not going to be okay with lasers, but they will be okay. Like you have some bugs flying through right here. I can already see them kind of going through. And I'll be able to debunk those pretty quickly by reviewing the video, but we're not recording now anyway. But you can already tell, like I already know what we're looking for. Some of those things are going to be super small, just like that. Other things are going to come through real nice and big, and it's going to be nice and easy to spot those. But again, I'll kind of give you the cues for the lasers.
Okay.
So I think everybody's got the gist of their devices except for your REM pod, which we're going to talk about at the next space, just so we can move this party along. Any other questions at this point before we, yes?
When would you like me to unmute?
So as we walk in between spaces,
Okay.
obviously you're going to be free to go with that.
Okay.
So as we go to the next space, you can start with that.
Okay.
But as I'm kind of talking to the whole group, between your device and your device, like they're pretty much the same thing. One's just an upgrade of the other. So again, these are the 2 that I'll say, let's tone down those SB7s and SB11s. Those are your 2 specific devices. But everybody else, like as far as the earbud folks, you can not listen to me all night long. It's your tour. You do whatever you want. So I say we move on to the next space instead of talking about ponies and football players. What do you think?
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. We got all the explanations out there. So you went all the way up to 20, like the red one on that? Everybody in nice and tight. This is the only entrance and exit for vehicles to come in and out of this space, just so everybody knows. Welcome to another beautiful site of Charleston, everybody. It's a parking lot, yay! Now, this is one of those sites where it actually used to be something, and this is probably one of my favorite spots. So, just based on the amount of activity that we've gotten out of this space. This is the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion site. So their mansion actually sat in the front of this space. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant, and we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. So, who the heck were these people? I guess I should stop there. Spirit Boats teams, I am not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the red barn.
I'm bouncing all over the place. It went up to like 27, then back down to 2 point something.
Wondering if that wiring is live. Let's test it. I want you to put it right against the wire. Yeah. It's live.
Yeah.
Okay, debunked. See? Good eye.
All right.
Alright, Eliza and Charles. So who the heck were these people? They had a son named Charles, they had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses. By the way, that's kind of give you a clue on why I always need secondary clues, because some of these people have the same names. So the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. It's a big deal for us, but I don't like politics, and you guys are on vacation, so let's move on. All right, so nobody wants to talk about politics, especially right now. So
It's all the way to the top now.
that's a little surprising over there, but we're going to talk more about that. Let's get through this. Let me get through this on the way. So it's awesome. He's all excited though. Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards. I'm not going to tell you basically like what that age was, but it's not going to be from the colonial times that she came from. So when you're asking her how old she was when she married, it's not going to be like 12 or 14, just to kind of give you the expectation. The only reason I bring this up is because Charles, her husband, was over double her age when they married. So you can ask either way. But she married him because her father over in England thought he was dying, and he wanted to see all of his kids one last time. She didn't think he was dying, so she stayed put. This was 1744. There's no such thing as marrying for a green card or for citizenship. She married this guy out of love. And even after he died, because remember he's over double her age, she remained a widow for a very long time. So, with that said, Dad gets better. Eliza was correct, which means Dad starts sending her gifts to this space apologetically. One of those gifts happened to be plant seeds of indigo. You've been in town for at least an hour that I know of, because you had to get here somehow. But at the same token, indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. A lot of you are wearing it tonight because that's how we still use it. Now, indigo, we didn't know what to do with it in this country. Our Gullah slaves brought that kind of trade over here. So she learned from her slaves how to keep it going and then moved it to a plantation just north of here in Mount Pleasant. Calls her dad and says, rice plantations are going to hell. We can make a lot of money with this indigo. Now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. This is something absolutely unheard of, just so you guys know. That's Eliza's business. Now, let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why you guys are all here. Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, back to back. So it's either really smart fellas or really dumb, depending on how you look at it. So, ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. So if you wanted to ask which Eliza we're dealing with, ask what her maiden name is. The mansion's not here anymore. You can ask what happened to it. And then hopefully when you get the answer, you can ask what year that happened and get specific year of when that actually occurred. Yes, I'm giving you kind of a clue that yes, it was a tragedy. So when you're listening for things, obviously I'm giving you a little bit of a clue there. Eliza's children, I told you there's at least one. His name was Charles, who was a signer of the Constitution. There are more. You can ask their names and how many she had, but leave it alone. The reason I say that is because there is a tragedy among those children. Do not poke the bear. We will lose all activity and all of Nathan's excitement over the activity from the EMF meters, because things will go down if you start poking that bear too much. I will give you those answers before we leave the space. Eliza's death is where she's really open, just so you guys know. You can ask her pretty much anything you want to about her death, how old she was, where is she buried, what did she die from, and what U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. So again, these are very specific questions. Notice that none of them are yes and no questions. I do that purposely. If you go rogue with your questions, meaning you don't use whatever I just handed you, and you want to ask your own questions, just make sure A, they're not yes or no questions, and that we can prove it. Anything dealing with the servants and slaves for the family, I cannot prove. Now, little fun surprise and little new tactic for me, we're going to be using a trigger object in this location. A trigger object is basically something to help spark the activity. I purchased indigo seeds to go to a user for one of the spirit box users to be able to use, and I seen your face glow up, and I was gonna give it over to you anyway. So again, hang on to this card. The little vial of indigo seeds is glued on there because the first night I brought it out, it fell off the card. It wasn't glued apparently, so just be careful. It took me forever to finally get those because the place I was getting them from didn't have them in stock. So hopefully that is going to spark up some, I'm basically testing a new theory to see if trigger objects actually work. Now, unfortunately, some of the other areas we're going to deal with duels and guns. I can't carry guns on the streets of Charleston. I can't bring a bunch of flintlocks out to the streets. So again, this is going to be like probably our one and only trigger that I'll be doing, at least based on the way the tour is set up now. So we are going to be spreading out in this space. We're going to spend about 10 minutes here. Work with the person that obviously you came with. I set you guys up with your devices that way on purpose, so that way you guys can see if things match up, obviously to help debunk things in your guys' sense. Vehicles. Again, be mindful of vehicles, and we do not go in between vehicles. We actually are kind of fortunate tonight as the lot is not full. So just try to stay away from vehicles as much as you can. And Julie, again, no pressure on the lasers, but keep them tight. Okay. Nice and tight in locations like this. I got to work with Steve for a few minutes to show him how to use that REM pod. And obviously, I'll be following Nathan around, and we're going to get your... Whenever we start it, it's that top button. So you are recording, sir. You are good to go. All right, guys, let's spread out. Let's have some fun. Oh, yeah, you're all over the place. I'm going to get that recording down in a moment. Nice catch on that 27, by the way.
Hey, man.
It was a good thing about debunking it pretty quick.
Yeah, no, it's a good call.
All right, so any other movement on that thing? Obviously, you've seen the 27. You know, I normally make sure you're at least seeing something coming out of that, because some people say, no, it says all zeros. I'm like, it had to have done something at this point, because there's a natural EMF that comes out of the earth. So it's going to go anywhere all the way.
Is that what it's picking up, the electromagnetic fields?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So we're going to create our own electromagnetic field by pulling up that antenna. Then there's a little flap on the back of the device, so turn it all the way around, and it's going to lift up this way. I have you guys do it so that way, because it can be a little tricky. Two little white buttons, the one closer to the edge is the one you want. Click it into the device. Perfect. So now, anything that interrupts that field, notice that these two, like, even though I put my hand here, there's no reading there. I seen a little 1.1, but it was already there. Yeah. Different type of EMF. So again, it's not measuring it, so that way we don't get false positives.
Gotcha.
So you can't have a reading on one and not the other. And what I like to do with these, you know, especially a space like this, is because notice there's a bunch of different colors in there, blues and purples and a yellow. I like to ask whoever's here for a specific color, not necessarily red or green. Obviously, I want to go for something in the middle. So yellow, blue, purple. You know, it kind of basically tells me, like, if I can get a call and answer out of it and I can do it repetitively, we obviously have something going on.
So if you get a reading, you're going to ask the spirit to give you a purple reading.
I will basically ask for the reading before, like, I will ask for a color before any type of reading even shows up to see if I can get them to interact with me.
Okay.
So the other thing is that notice you're getting little blips right now. Yeah. I normally hand this to females, I'll be honest. They just walk more graceful than us.
Yeah.
So your movements are going to make it go off.
Okay.
There's a way to reset it so that way we can kind of debunk a lot of those false positives. On the right-hand side here, there's 4 buttons. The very bottom one is the one you want. So if you keep your right thumb there at the very bottom button, you can, every time it goes off, click it. And then if you get the same reading again, obviously we just kind of took out the fact that it came from your movement. So if it went all the way up to yellow, you stop, click the reset button, and it goes back to yellow, even though you're being still. We definitely have something going on.
Gotcha.
So again, it's all about ruling out those, like last night we had this crazy flickering thing going on. It had to have been from the person using it, because no matter where she went, it was flickering green. Flickering green. So either she was real shaky or something along those lines, because it was flickering.
Gotcha.
But I think you guys both have
you want to hear from me if I get ever...
oh, I'll hear it.
Yeah.
Like, I got an ear for it. I mean, I do this every...
But the other number, 2.
The other number. Because you're going to see me bouncing around with everybody, and I'll say, what kind of readings have you had? And, you know, obviously if you get anything above, you know, 25 to 40, because Nathan's device only goes to 25. Yours goes all the way to 200. You say why I like your numbers better?
Yeah.
I use his to debunk things pretty quickly.
Okay.
So to kind of give you a mindset, I don't know, do you know anything about electric, anything?
No.
Okay, so behind your TV, there's a bunch of wires.
Yeah.
That's about 40 to 60 milligauss.
Okay.
Okay, your microwave running on high is about 150 to 170 milligauss, depending on the wattage of the microwave. And that kind of gives you a bar of what we're looking for.
So the energy is thrown off, it's leaking out of it.
Right, and they've never done an archaeological dig here, so really there's no reason why that device should be going off at all, including Nathan's. Even though Nathan's like looks way more exciting, it's going all the way to red, it's only going to 25. So again, with that said, that's why they use those on TV so much. And you've probably, if you watch any of the ghost hunting shows and YouTube stuff, you know that that's the first thing they go to. First off, those ones are cheap, and they're super exciting on TV because it's at its max rating. It's not much. It's only 25 milligrams. So, and again, if you're inside of a building, that's easy to debunk pretty quickly.
Okay.
So
just walk around, see what I see.
You got it.
All right.
Yeah, just stick together. Just be a filmmaker.
All right. So should I have like him in the frame? Because
anybody's fine.
All right.
But if I say, hey guys, somebody's coming through, act casual. You just basically got to drop it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
All right, thanks.
I don't like to be screamed at. It's never fun.
That's something.
I got no numbers here.
Are you supposed?
I don't have any numbers.
You're supposed to have numbers, and that's what it means. That means it's him. I don't know if this thing's right. It says the ground is like 94 degrees. 96 degrees. No, it's not. Because you can see the camera. It was just at 44.4. What?
The most noise we got was over there. We didn't get any high readings.
That was by the thing.
Over there.
That was. Oh, do we go over there? What?
Oh, 8.2.
Didn't you get 4.4 over there? When it was beeping a lot? Wait, so does the beeping directly coincide with like the numbers? Or is it separate? Well, what are you supposed to tell them about?
Oh, it goes over 2.25.
Well, wasn't it over there?
No, it's 4.4.
And that's what he said, right? Or 2 point, didn't he say 2 point something?
Yeah, 200.
Oh, 200 something? I don't know if you're the person who's supposed to be asking questions.
Alright. Any craziness, any numbers?
We had a bunch of noise when I first walked over here
Okay.
from the electromagnetic field, and I reset and it came back again, but I haven't.
What color was it?
It was all the colors. It was running up and back.
Oh, wow.
It was down here, wasn't it, Eddie? Was this where it was?
Yeah, it was right around here.
Okay.
Again, I had no idea what the hell's going to happen out here. I've never seen that before. I've seen it go like in patterns.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
hey, I'm here, you ask for blue, there's a blue, and then it goes down to green, and then it goes back up to blue, and then it goes down to green, and it goes back to blue. So it's almost like I'm getting little tiny motions back and forth, like almost like a Morse code. Like, hey, blue, blue. But never like a gambit of colors going all the way across.
All the way back and forth. Couple times, right?
Yeah.
You have probably the hardest one out here, just so you know, because it's open air. Again, that's an older model.
I mean, if I was a ghost, I'd be like, fuck these people.
Well, I don't know why.
Yeah, I'd fucking kick them in the dicks. Run away. Float away.
Okay.
I barely do. I just started floating.
I don't think that'd be good.
I started talking in tongues and then floated.
I think I'd kill you.
Two people would fucking, like, definitely took the shit out of him. Like, if that motherfucker floated, started fucking head started spinning around and started puking all over the place. I was like, fuck, this guy's really hard for me.
Let's go over there again.
What you got?
Nothing really. I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for. I'm kind of just doing what he told me, like to keep it below the sky, but like onto like a person at all times. For some reason, it's always cold in the car windows. It says it's cold in the car windows.
Probably because it cools off quickly. It's glass.
Yeah.
Doesn't hold its temperature for too long.
And then it says that the bumper of that car is pretty cool.
Find anything? I don't think so. You're good. Alright. Let's start.
He's been getting a lot of hits over in that, right over where they are in that area.
We'll check it out.
Okay.
We got their back.
This is where we got the 4 point, the little bit of stuff before, like the green. Is right here. I wonder if this stuff's expensive. Well, I mean, mine's a phone, so we had to have bought a phone. So is that other guy's, it's like an app. I don't know. Well, I guess they're just saying there's no reason for it to change unexpectedly, and so that's the reason.
Yeah.
I guess that's the reasoning behind it.
So your guys' like pair it up thing, like this is not always an in the image type thing. A lot of this is what we do. So just
This is... My hand's getting tired. I'm holding this thing up the entire time.
Anything crazy going on?
No.
Any other numbers? Okay. that means I probably should wrap it up. All right, guys, let's come back to where we started. Get you guys some damn questions. Again, this is something brand new. I ordered this like over a month ago, and it finally came in at the beginning of the week, so I was super excited to get it in. Alright, so we can stop your videos at this point. We're just going to be doing some review. Mute them in here just because this is considered a quiet space. So where's the SP7? If you can put yours, like keep it down on mute. This is a quiet space, yeah. And we're not going to get a whole lot out of yours besides interruptions, so I'm not going to do that.
Just the floor and stuff. I bet you if you walked on these floors every day, your feet would get pretty strong.
Yeah,
From all the maneuvering.
for sure, yeah.
Well, even in your shoe, you're doing a lot of like stabilizing.
Considered a quiet space, so that's why I asked the spirit boxes to turn down and obviously the REM pod. So we can get some footage down here. Let me go if that battery's in there anytime soon. So we can lower left-hand corner. We're going to let this family pass through here, guys. So, hi, guys.
Oh, excuse us.
Oh, you're good, you're good. We're measuring to see if you're good.
All right, right on. You're not dead.
So, when we cross names, did we hear any names along the way?
I heard like Warren or like Warrant or something.
Okay, interesting.
Mark.
Mark. And what was yours? Irving. Last name. So here's the reason why I asked for names. When we crossed that last crosswalk coming down East Bay Street, that's where the original Charlestown Wall used to be. You're now standing on one of the very first streets we ever had here in Charleston. So Charleston used to be called Charlestown. It was called the Walled City, so it was fortified. People used to live down here. I have that full list of residents of every person that's ever lived down here. So, remind me again what those, I got Irving, Mark, and what was the other one?
Like Warren.
Warren. The names I commonly hear down here are Benjamin and John. Now, very common names, but when I say people live down here, I'm talking like 4 to 6 people at a time. So it wasn't like lining the streets with housing. So again, little tiny shotgun houses around here. Obviously, those 2 big giant buildings weren't here. And Benjamin and John were 2 people out of 5 that lived down here in 1801. Do I have anything significant about 1801? I don't. I've dug and dug and dug and dug. But I get those names every 6 to 7 weeks. Here's where it gets a little weird. You're standing on Belgian blocks. These blocks are made straight from granite. If you're any kind of paranormal fan of any kind, you've heard the term limestone before. It's said to kind of stir up any kind of paranormal activity. That's because limestone comes straight from the earth, as does granite. So these stones have been here since 1735, and it is also said that anything that stays in the same place for this long period of time can hang on to the consciousness of memories. So it's kind of like it's replaying what happened here over and over and over again. I don't find it uncanny that for the past 3 years, every 6 to 7 weeks, I've been getting the same 2 names of Benjamin and John. So, did you bring Bud Lights for everybody?
I did.
So, again, what they call that is the stone tape theory. So, again, it is something like I didn't even figure all of that out up until about a year ago. It was just kind of crazy where I put 2 and 2 together as I was, looking more into these bricks so I can kind of give you guys more history about them. Again, it just makes complete sense that it's the same 2 names over and over and over again. They did do an archaeological dig underneath these bricks. They did find some of the people's clothing and their tools and silverware. They classified them as lower class. It makes sense. The other part of the wall would have been across the street on East Bay, across from where we were. The smell of low tide would be coming through here often. The rich people of Charleston are not going to be putting up with that. You've been down to the Battery, I hope, and you've seen where the houses are skinny and go long backwards here in Charleston. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is to keep the smell of low tide out. We have piazzas. That's a front porch with a door that keeps the smell of low tide out. The second reason is you would actually open up your second story window, let the cool air from the breeze come in, and it would air condition the house because cool air drops and heat rises. So again, it's kind of a fluctuation of air through the home. The other reason why those houses are skinny is because you were taxed based on how much street side you took. The skinnier the house, the less taxes you have. So you can make your house a mansion going this way, you just had to pay less taxes in the front. Now we just left the Pinckney Mansion site where the house was broad. We're outside the city walls over there, and the Pinckneys had money. They didn't give a damn about taxes. They wanted the bragging rights to show off their beautiful home. So kind of keep that in mind. A lot of people ask that question. Before people lived here in Lodge Alley, the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here, hence the name Lodge Alley. So we do get terms wrapped around the Freemasons, Mason, Brig, Freemason, Illuminati. Like, again, Illuminati shows up at least 4 or 5 times a year. Like, you can't make this stuff up. And again, I'm not going to deep dive into conspiracy theories with y'all. It's just one of those pieces where you have to chuckle, because who the hell is saying the word Illuminati on the radio? Like, when it comes through on a spirit box that way, who's talking about this? So here's what's going to happen from here. I stalled here for a minute. Again, we're on a loop. Right now, in that 6 to 7 week loop, we're in like week 5 to 6. So I'm actually expecting those 2 names to pop up any night now, so that way I can add them into the rotation. We're going to go to another alley. However, I cannot take you all the way through it like what we're doing here. I've been booted out. You have to remember, you guys have noise boxes and blinky lights and everything else. So again, it is considered residential at the end of the alley, and yes, I was in the wrong for being down there for 8 or 9 months that I was touring down there. But we're going to go check out the alley anyway, just because there is so much activity that comes up just from talking about it. So again, I don't like to linger here for too long because you guys just seen some lights go out. There's people behind those windows. It's their hotel. So again, I try not to linger here for too long. But we're going to be cutting through a neighborhood in order to get to the next alley. So again, lasers are still out for a little while. We're going to stop filming once we exit. We're actually going to let this tour pass all the way through us, just so that way we can work around them. They're going to be much bigger than us. You're going to start seeing these much bigger tours as we get closer to the popular areas of town. So we just kind of choose our spot and stay out of the way, just so you guys know. Let me take a look at your word list while we're sitting here.
Yeah, you got a phone call.
Evil. Like, it's not even proper English.
I'll leave what you go down there.
I guess they're not playing a little bit through. Okay, interesting. Alright, videos, cut them off once we exit the alley because we do not record in neighborhoods, just so you guys know. Alright, let's do this.
That's the sky, I think.
Again, remember, every 2 to 3 minutes
I think it's the sky.
Just to get these people off
That
the push.
was a car,
Can you guys move down just a little bit? I want to scoot everybody off that push, just because we're full group. Right there. That's one push. Alright, good. So, this behind me is what's called, by the way, do we have any terms or phrases that you guys have heard along the way here? Alright, so behind me is Philadelphia Alley. So it is called that because we renamed it after dueling became illegal and stupid. So this used to be called the Duelers Alley. Now, with that said, Philadelphia was one of the cities that has actually helped us out one of our many, many fires. That's why we named it that. It was kind of to honor them back. Now, the duels, we all tell the story of one specific duel because we can actually prove that it happened. And again, us standing right outside of it just like this, we still stood up in that activity. For example, on the way here last night, we actually had the term gun and contest come up on the digital spirit box word. These are things that cannot make up. Gun contest in a duel. Like, you can't make it up, guys. This is great stuff. So, let's tell the story. Let's get this through this. This is where it's going to get interesting. Ralph. Okay, this is where you're going to come in. Doctor moves down here. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here from Rhode Island. He moves down here because he has a fiance. Her name is Amanda. She just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash that she just inherited, and the attorney thinks that the doctor's just after her money. So he tells her, get rid of the doctor. You hit the flashlight, just hit the power button once. Perfect. So the doctor, to prove that he's not just after Amanda's money, he comes down here to Charleston. So as he's coming into town, the coachman set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston, but somebody walking by, his name was Ralph Isaacs. Now I stop on Ralph's name for a second just because Ralph actually has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. R.I. will show up in spirit boxes often here. Remember, you're ghost hunting. This isn't just a ghost story. So we're looking for those clues, but we always need that secondary clue, so you need to know who it belongs to. Anyway, Ralph says, dude, you don't want to stay here. He's got a gunman inside. He's going to try to take all your money. He's like, I got some friends at 59 Church Street. You can stay and rent a room. So the doctor takes him up on the offer, and the two become friends. So the doctor's practice starts to take off. He's making lots of money at this point. Amanda's moving down soon. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. I want you to keep in mind that every haunted city you will ever go visit has a cliched whistling. So ours is the doctor. Just kind of keep that. Now, they go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other. That's Ralph and the doctor, because the doctor makes more money. He has better seats. That's just the way the hierarchy works in Charleston at that point in time. It's late 1700s. They go see William III one night, and on the way home, they're discussing the new actress that was in town. The doctor thought she was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. They start arguing, and then it gets even uglier when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiance back home in Rhode Island. So it gets really ugly. They go their separate ways. Ralph is from here. He has friends at the newspaper. He goes to his friends at the paper, and he puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Not very cool or very, it's kind of a jerk. Let's just put it out there. Now, the doctor sees that ad, he rebuttals with, let's go to Jeweler's Alley. We're going to settle this. So, meaning somebody's going to die, right? So they come down, they take 20 paces, they turn. The doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He just wanted to show up for the fight, for the courage and bravery, willing to forgive his friend. By the way, shooting your gun in the air or into the ground during a duel is often what happened. It wasn't always a loser. So, Ralph has his one shot. He puts it in the kneecap, in the doctor. So the doctor doesn't die either. But Ralph proved his point that he's still pretty ticked off. The doctor's friends pick him up. They carry him home to 59 Church Street. He dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. You have to remember, he was a doctor. While he tried to bleed it out himself. Here's the thing that gets where the paranormal activity actually occurs. So, they say you actually walk through this alley and actually hear the whistles from the doctor. Now, remember, I used to take my teams down there. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street, most of the locals know the story. They're going to throw a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night on the way back to my garage above the Scotch Bar. So again, we end at that corner. My garage is right there. I do it every single night. Even when my daughter's on a tour, we race to see who's going to throw the whistle first, especially when other tours are down there. So it just makes things fun for them. Now, they also say you can hear gunshots. I just don't have any proof of it. Normally, we would have the whistling proof in the background from the regular audio from those tours. So let's talk about how I got booted out of there, because that's the fun part of this whole story. So at the end of this alley, there's a beautiful mansion, right? I will also tell you that this alley didn't always come all the way through the public mansion. Kind of cut off the private court. So at the other side, those bricks are sun-dried bricks from slave children. They're actually turned every hour to be able to dry them off. We have a full handprint from a slave child and fingerprints from the kids moving those bricks. And we show them off to kind of show our history, how far we come. However, that handprint that everybody wants to put an EMF meter near or a spirit box is right outside a gentleman's down here. Yeah, not very good. So we come out one night, it happened to be November 26th, 2020. I remember the date specifically. You're going to realize why here in a moment. And of course, we had a little bit of work back and forth. My team stood up for me and we moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving, not on the tour. I got a phone call from the tourist office asking me to either go down halfway, which is what we're allowed to do, based on city limits, or to reroute my tour. Only investigate half of the alley when there's two other parties of 20 down there. So there's 40 people every time we go around. So I go down there and I'm going to talk about this female pirate. Oh yeah. From what I know, and I tell my team, we're going to wing it and see what actually happens. Tickets were much cheaper then. We're just like that. So we get up there and somebody on a spirit box, here's the number 300. No no idea what the number 300 is. And somebody else hears the name Anne. We were just finished discussing what I knew about Anne Bonny, a female pirate. When I go home and research everything the next morning, we were there November 28th, 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th, 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of the pirate trial. Again, this is why I do what I do. Again, I'm not a pirate guy, I'm a vampire guy, but I can tell you I know a whole hell of a lot of pirates now since that day. I've read more books than I can count, just to keep the story straight and alive for me. Now, I do invite you to go down there with your own voice recorders, and you can also see the beautiful lighting down there. You're right here in the middle of the night. Like, it is one of the most picturesque places we have here in Charleston. So if you're a picture taker, by all means, it's gorgeous down there. Not to mention it's super quiet and creepy. So, we're going to go to our next space, Spirit Boxes. I definitely want you all listening in and kind of telling me what you hear until we get to the next space. The next space, there's like 15 stories there. This is where I'm going to let the evidence kind of steer me in the right direction. If it doesn't, I'll go to my normal go-to stories, and then we're going to go deep dive into that female pirate that I just talked about, so everybody can get the lasers out, we can get the REM pod going again, so that way everybody's back in play. So let's go up to the next spot and see what we can find out.
Alright. Get in front of me so I can use you as my person in the camera. Actually, I can use that. It's hard for me to not get the sky in this.
I got nothing.
Well, he said you might not get anything. So can I put my hand here?
Try.
Should we go to the front of the building?
Okay.
Is that something?
It's the same thing you said we got last time.
Yeah. That is kind of weird what he said about. It's kind of the thing that he said about that girl that was using it.
Mm-hmm.
How there was a person. Alright, let's go back. Your thing should be going kind of weird because of the.
I'll tell you what.
Oh. So you said by the street. Let's go over here.
What's my face look like?
Oh. Wait.
Let's turn around and face you.
Like that. Did you see it?
Then I've been to some other places, like rural places.
Eyes are glowing.
Yeah. It's my eyes over there.
He's a number 59, so he can pop up somewhere. Any crazy readings coming up out of you, sir?
No.
Hey, okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is all kind of like subject to interpretation. Like it's vague, right? Do you ever get like a sign, like somebody pegs a fucking rock at your head and there's nobody there? Like, does anything like overt ever happen?
So I will tell you, and I don't normally put my feelings into this. We're standing over there. I'm sure you guys see me brushing my arm.
yeah.
Normally, if you're getting touched, it feels like a spider web.
Okay.
I had 3 spider webs. I had one in here, and I had one back here, and then one on the bottom of my leg. 3 different times as I was telling that story over there. And you know what a mosquito bite is.
Right.
This was spider webs. I stayed still. I moved around a little bit to try to see if I could get out of it.
Yeah.
But that's normally like when I see somebody pass out. Psychics and mediums, dude, they don't make it through this. They get to the Pinkley Mansion site, they're dropping like a wet noodle.
It's overwhelming for them because they pick up on it. Right.
But me personally, have I ever, like, other than the couple of spider webs here and
Yeah.
there, I've had it influence my epilepsy, but that's about the extent of it.
Right. I would like an overt sign.
It usually shows up on there. That's the shit you can't miss.
Yeah. Although there was enough coincidence at that one place.
Not to mention, we've already got the name of the father.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Aaron got it.
That's awesome.
She's like, yeah, we asked the name of the dad and we heard this name. I'm going to reveal it to everybody. Well, you guys don't even know the spirit book. But yeah, she heard one right away.
That's
It
awesome.
happens often. It happens all the time. I'm waiting for the mom's name to come through. Because usually if you get one, you get the other.
See, yeah, it's hard. It's kind of weird.
Again, it's the same stuff I see in here every time. That's why we ask the same questions repeatedly. It's like they know I'm coming.
Yeah.
All right.
I was just thinking like if I'm the spirit,
You're gonna be throwing shit, huh?
I'm gonna be.
Yeah. I'm gonna be smoking a pipe. All right. What else have you got going on? Nothing heard on your end? Just I'm most excited. All right. Let's get everybody over to the wall. And did you lock up again? Is that what you're looking at?
I've blocked it a couple times over there.
Oh, jeez. 58, so we got about 19 minutes of footage. So we can still work with that. It's still good. All right, let's get everybody to the wall. Let's get this